My name is Mohammed Ali Ahmed, a treasurer for Rangeland Management Committee. This part is Wajir West constituency, and 90% are pastoralists. As a Rangeland Management members, as a residents of Arbahajan ward, we are very happy to be in this program because it helps us have a certain sites and how to graze our livestock.
So my name is Irene Mukalo. I work with the Resource Conflict Institute as the head of programs, but also coordinate the PRM process, Participatory Rangelands Management process. Participatory Rangelands Management focuses on working with communities in the rangelands to effectively manage, use the rangelands through strengthening the governance institutions, especially the community-based institutions such as rangeland management institutions. And this is also done in collaboration with the host counties. For instance, right now we are in Wajir County, in Arbahajan ward, and we are working with the Rangelands Management Committee in this ward.
His name is Abe. He's the chairman of the Rangeland Management Committee for Arbahajan ward. He says the Rangeland Management Committee consists of 21 members, 6 female and 15 male. So basically, they are in charge of the ward about the rangeland resource use issues.
waxaan qabanaa arrimaha maaragtay bulshadii waa wacyigelinaa oo arrimaha maaragtay idaayad oo maaragtay barsada waxayna teeda labaad arrimaha maaragtay dhulka la gubaa arrimaha kan hadda maanta safartan wax badan dhulka la gubi jiray laakiin hadda taan dhulgubidii wax ka dhacay area Arbahajan ward wax gubida ka dhacay malaha tiidaan waxaan tusinay maaragtay dadweynaha ay aqli qateen.
Wajir has a unique problem because mostly the land is large and we experience periodic droughts. The other challenge is lack of management of the existing resources, which is rangelands. People do not have resilient structures. They do not have, even they might not have the heart that's absent in them that they want to maintain their lands.
muddo dheer inta soo maraa cilmina la baray cilmiga waa faa'iidna waa baranay haddana waxaan ugu soo biirnay inaan wadankayna horumar gaara on cilmigaas gaarsiino oo ilaa iyo westi eldaas westi eldaas hadado intaas xoolo dhaqatada aan gaarsiina horumar.
In Wajir, following through the PRM process, we have been able to work through the investigation stage. At the investigation stage, a number of things happen. One is the stakeholders mapping, which we did successfully, and we were able to identify the different stakeholders who have a role in the management of and governance of the rangeland resources. For instance, the county, the community themselves, institutions that are around. And of course, the other thing we also did was to map the rangeland resources because it was very, very critical for us to understand the nature of resources that communities engage with every other time. So away from the pastures, which they were able to identify the trees, they were able to identify the wildlife that they were also able to identify, water resources. So that gives us a very broad picture of how their rangelands are. We needed to understand the resources themselves in terms of what is their status. And that is when we are now implementing the participatory resource assessment. And a participatory resource assessment gives you a clear understanding of the rangeland health because you're able to tell the kind of plants that are there. And you're also able to tell if the rangeland is degraded or not. And then eventually that should inform interventions into the rangeland.
The other thing that we look out for is that it needs to be away from sacrifice zones, such as areas where people do watering of animals, so that it's just purely not overly degraded land. When we get to a site that they've selected, we do take a picture so that after a year, because monitoring can be done after a year or after 2 to 4 years, depending on the community, then we take a picture of the area, begin the data collection so that in the next season when we are taking the data, we have another picture which allows us to do a comparison. And the final thing is that when we are selecting our sites, we need to make it as representative as possible of the rangeland unit. So we try to distribute our sites across the whole rangeland unit so that we can get good data.
And this will help maybe the community to take ownership of the rangelands and do routine monitoring. And maybe after a rangeland management plan is developed and implemented, is when now people, like maybe if they agree to make this a dry grazing area season, so that people can be restricted not to move to this part of the board, so that the rangeland can regenerate and it becomes now healthy. It will help to monitor maybe how these resources can be utilized and how it can be managed, so that when now we get the data for this particular area, we do some management, we come back maybe after 2 to 3 years, we can also do again another monitor. We can now assess whether the rangelands have been degraded along the way or has been restored.
But on top of that, there will be a number of awareness building processes as well as capacity building initiatives to ensure that the community fully understands PRM and they are able to implement it on their own without really having, another entity coming in to take up the lead. So we expect that the community will be fully at the center of this process.